Good evening again. I'd like to call the Committee of the Whole for the Village of Cary for Tuesday, September 20th. It's not written. 2020 to order with roll call, please.
Dudek?
Here.
McAlpine?
Here.
Collier?
Here.
Weinhammer?
Here.
Walrath?
Here.
Thank you. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll now move to the public comment, where the public is invited to make an issue-oriented comment on any matter of public concern not otherwise on the agenda. I think we dealt with everybody that did that too. We have one thing on our agenda. We'll go ahead and close that at 7:34. One thing, an update from Liberty Outdoor Advertising.
Hello, I'm Brian, 23 Jefferson. Been a long time since I've seen you guys. Good to see you, and this is beautiful. First time I've been at the new facility. Wow.
It's a nice improvement.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I sent an email and said, hey, I was curious to see what the outcome and the public sentiment and your sentiment was on the new digital that obviously went up on 14 and 3 Oaks there. And I was curious what the perception of that is. Obviously, that's our business. We're always looking to be competitive and try to keep up with our competitors. And so I was curious what that looked like, as far as what you guys thought of that.
Well, I'll start it out. To be honest with you, Brian, back in the day when you guys asked us when you were reducing your signage and all that stuff, I was not in favor of it all. I've learned a little bit since then. Trustee McAlpin and I went to a couple of the ZPA meetings at the county. We were very discouraged about we prevailed at the ZPA level, that they denied it, or they did not recommend it. With the county, it just doesn't come with a recommendation. My concern, to be honest with you, was that the sign was way too high. It was much bigger. I don't think it's as big as they originally said it was going to be. I think it was going to be something like, 10 by 40 or something. I don't know. It was an enormous sign from what they said. I think it's much smaller. And some of the people that I talked to since this has all happened, they really don't even give it a blink of an eye, because they said that they're everywhere. So I'm kind of curious to know. I think your timing is. I'm sure you were watching what the outcome of that was, hence the email about that. So I'd said, come and talk to us about what your thoughts are and what signs that you're considering, and talk to the committee and see if that's something that they would be interested in doing.
Well, to your point, as a resident of Cary and a business owner in Cary and Crystal Lake, I thought it was unfortunate the way that it was handled. As far as you guys have brought to the table and overridden, but it is what it is. Obviously, you guys know we're local. We've been here since 1982. Jack Schaefer owned the company before I did, and we do an awful lot of work for the community, whether it be local businesses, whether that be nonprofits. Admittedly, we've tried to stray out of the political a little bit. That's gotten a little crazy, and we'd rather not put that stuff on the boards anymore. But when I go back to the beautification that we were supposed to do, we decided to have an employee do the beautification, and to say the least, I'm sure you share our sentiments, it's not great. And we've looked at things and gone, okay, maybe this is an opportunity to remove both of those signs on the railroad tracks as well as Lake Julian, and hire a company who specializes in this, like all steel structures, and then hire a masonry company to actually come out and copy what your design is for your signs, the type of brick, the type of stone, the color, the style, and things like that, and potentially make this not just something that, we use to make money as a company, but something that's really a community board, something that we donate, 20% of our boards anyway to nonprofit and local businesses that are having trouble. Maybe that's something we carry over to this sign. We do road closures, we do boil orders and weather disasters and things like the different festivals, that happen in Cary. And I thought I would bring that to your attention because obviously it's something we're interested in competing with the forces that be. And we'd entertain doing it and, frankly, doing it your way.
Any questions or suggestions? I'm sure Trustee Dudek has something to say.
Let me have it.
I have a question for you. So you're talking about community-based and this and that. You drive around other towns and you see advertisements on some of those boards that
Yeah.
aren't great, strip clubs and stuff like that. Are you allowed to prohibit people from putting that on your
So
board?
it actually,
Yes.
there's two checks and balances in the company for that. One, when Jack, in true ethical form to Jack, when he sold it to me, that was part of the sale agreement, was that no beer, no alcohol, no strip clubs. In fact, we even talked about no dispensaries, no marijuana. And while we didn't settle on that with the sale agreement, we did include that in our client agreement. And if I'm being perfectly honest, we're a conservative family, so I don't want my children seeing that stuff. I don't want to have to tell 3 little girls, what this stuff is. So that would be something not only would I be willing to commit to, but obviously I would be willing to put that in a sale agreement should I ever sell the company, that would be a condition of sale.
Thank you.
The reason I kind of shout out to Trustee Dudek, we've had many conversations over the years about those signs, have we not?
Well, since you opened the door for me, I think the day after the signs were put up, I drove by and I said, that's not what they told us they were going to do.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to, people inside the village, how can we approve brick stanchions and we get 1/4-inch fake brick?
Right.
I never got a good answer for that. I'm not sure you can give me a good answer for that. But because of what happened in 2 signs that weren't put up the way they were proposed, you've got an uphill battle with me. So I'm just being very candid with you.
I appreciate that.
And that's just the way I feel. We were, in my opinion, sold a bill of goods. If it was an employee who worked for your company that didn't fulfill it, you are still responsible, just as I am for people who work for me.
Yeah, it was an employee, and they're not an employee anymore. But understood, and I own that.
Any other comments or questions?
Well, I would say that you are very good about sponsoring community events. You do that already with your billboards. I'm always open to the fact of if we could take down one board and replace, take down 2 and replace it with one. I was pleasantly surprised by how non-eventful it was that we have those multimedia, the digital boards,
right.
or mixed media. Yeah. I don't find them to be distracting. I thought that they would be. I've heard nothing, no complaints whatsoever. To have something that emulates our signs, though, to me that has to be.
Understood.
It's a stopper if I'm not going forward unless we do something like that.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Another interesting idea that was in my head with this was rather than putting something as large, even with the reduced size that we saw at 14 and 3 Oaks Road, I have no desire to go that big, especially on Dave Miller's property. Something, they're currently 6 by 12. And I think doing, something reminiscent of that size, whether that be a 7 by 13 or, an 8 by 14, but I don't think you need bigger than that, especially where it currently is.
So you would consider taking down the ones on the UP,
Correct.
and then you would consider making the sign look like our new entryway signs?
Correct, and we would, as part of the erection of that sign, we would hire a contractor and in writing specify this is what it looks, this is what it should look like, have a graphic designer create some of those mock-ups of that and say, you know, this is the materials that are going to be used, this is how tall it's going to be, this is how it's got to look, you know? That way there's no interpretation on how it's going to look. You know, a contractor is doing that work.
Why would you want to take it down along the railroad?
Well, it's a good question. So we've had that sign for almost 30 years, and it has raised and lowered a couple of times with the grading of the railroad. But to be perfectly honest, as a business owner, my insurance is through the roof on that sign because there's railroad tracks right there. It makes me very nervous that if somebody falls off that sign, it is a for sure death. So I would, I'd like to get rid of that sign, and certainly I think that would please you guys. So if that's a bargaining chip, done.
I'm very interested in exploring the idea of removing those and adding something that fits in with our decor, if you will. I think that's a worthwhile give on both sides.
Yeah.
And it's right as you come in, right as you come into town. So to me, that'd be a nice look.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, since it seems like a majority of the committee is in favor of this, why don't you take some time, put together something formal for us to review?
Understood.
Contact Director Simmons and get you put back on another committee meeting so we can kind of talk about what your ideas are, maybe
Sure.
a time frame, whatever that is. I think that would be fair if everybody's in agreement to that.
Yes.
And Trustee Dudek, I will earn you back.
Everybody's got that.
Challenge
opportunity.
accepted, challenge accepted.
That's right.
Anybody else have any other questions for Brian? Thank you very much for coming in, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to
Brian.
getting your information.
Thank you.
Nothing else on the agenda. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 7:45. Thank you.